For sort of over 20 years, I've kind of been growing unusual crops and unusual plants.
Tea in Jersey, it sounds a bit unusual. When you thought about starting this business, have you had friends or relatives saying like, are you a bit crazy?
It's quite amazing all the mass of different types of tea and different flavours you can get from one plant. And through influencing how it grows, its environment, that can affect the flavour that you end up with.
It's a unique product for Jersey. Are there any challenges in your area, that you're dealing with? Because it's not like, let's say you're growing Jersey Royals, you can go to your neighbors or to other farmers, be like, look, I'm kind of dealing with this. What do you think? You can share expertise.
Everywhere, it's the second most consumed beverage in the world after water. Everyone drinks tea or has drunk tea, but no one knows how it ends up in your cup.
Matt Bartlett, welcome to Hospitality Insights.
Oh yeah.
Great having you on. A very interesting story today, I'd like to believe, and not just for me, for the listeners and viewers. You are from Jersey Fine Teas, so we're going to talk about tea today, but not any tea, a Jersey tea of Jersey business, which is amazing. Because we've got Jersey Lemons, we've got Jersey Sea Salt, we've got Jersey Royals, but tea in Jersey, it sounds a bit unusual. When you thought about starting this business, have you had friends or relatives saying like, are you a bit crazy? How was the beginning?
Well, I think because I also have a job, it was kind of always going to be extra work. So yeah, probably a few people thought I was a bit nuts.
So, but how the idea came about? Because the way I see it, it's not something that you wake up overnight to just think in the morning like, well, teas, let's do teas. Was this something that you really like? You really enjoy tea, or how was the beginning? How did you think about starting this business?
Well, for me, it was personally, it was for sort of over 20 years, I've kind of been growing unusual crops and unusual plants. So I studied horticulture. So one of my backgrounds is horticulture. And I had a sort of curiosity for growing plants that couldn't really grow outside of their normal regions. And one of them was obviously tea. I've also grown mangoes and pineapples and
Here in Jersey?
Mangoes, yeah. Pineapples not. I did that when I was away, but actually no, I have. I've kind of experimented with lots of different things, dragon fruits and avocados, all sorts. So tea was one of those things, and coffee as well at the time. So my original interest was from that, and then since I started doing that, I've kind of always had tea plants around, and never on a commercial kind of scale. So that came later, and then through my sort of background in land management, the sort of discussion came about growing different crops. So I'm kind of interested in diversifying the agricultural landscape in Jersey. Moving away from what was sort of locally sort of more intensive farming, and resting land, which is quite important. So obviously land needs resting. Tea as a crop, if it all goes well, we hope it's going to be there for sort of potentially upwards of 30 years. So it's a decent sort of land rest period.
But are the conditions ideal for, the Jersey conditions, the weather conditions, ideal for growing tea, or it's a bit of a struggle from this point of view comparing to, let's say, places from Asia? They're already well known for doing it.
Well, it's kind of different, but I mean, Jersey has a pretty exceptional microclimate, really, so which suits the tea to grow here well, thanks to the sort of influence of the Gulf Stream as well. We have sort of the kind of gentle marine climate, the warmer winters, and it suits growing tea.
Is the climate
nicely.
change kind of like helping this culture, these unusual agriculture now more than before? Do you think?
Not necessarily. I think it's just something that hadn't previously been tried. A lot of when you grow different, it was a bit of an experiment to kind of see how the plants fared outside in normal conditions. But over the time, they've kind of adjusted and got used to our climate. And also one thing that people always forget often is, for example, Japan. They're grow tea in Japan. Japan's tea fields get snow all over them. So they're kind of used to, the plants are quite resilient. Some of the tea, so there's Camellia sinensis, which is what we grow, and Camellia sinensis assamica, which tends to grow in slightly warmer climates.
Oh, okay. So there is a variation there. You need to choose the right one.
Same plant, but two different varieties. Yeah.
All right. That's so interesting. And something that was kind of a surprise for me, which I discovered not too long ago, that green tea, white tea, black tea, and probably, is there something else?
Yellow tea.
They all come from the same plant, but it's almost like coffee. It's how you ground it, how you roast it, how you do the processing.
Yeah, it's the processing of it. So it's all the same plant.
Which is here.
We've got one here. Yeah. So this is one of our young plants. Yeah. So all the plants are the same, but how you process it will kind of determine what the tea is that you end up with.
Yeah, that's interesting. You mentioned coffee. Do you think we could grow coffee in Jersey? Is that not. Probably a bit too far?
Don't know. Possibly not. Might need a little bit more experiment, but.
But are there any challenges? Because this is a unique product for Jersey. Are there any challenges in your area, that you're dealing with? Because it's not like, let's say you're growing Jersey Royals, you can go to your neighbors or to other farmers and be like, look, I'm kind of dealing with this. What do you think? You can share expertise, but I don't know if you actually have that in Jersey, or do you? Probably not. So
not really.
It's almost like an online.
Well, I think that's the thing. The difference with sort of traditional growing areas is that they're well and truly established, so they have a more of a history of growing and producing. We're kind of more of a pioneer region, so we're kind of growing in new territory. So we don't have that kind of network to fall back on. And even if we did, where people are growing in different regions as well, their experiences of growing might not be relevant to what's going on here. So there's a lot of experiment, a lot of learning as we go.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. And I guess you don't do this yourself. You need help, because it's a very demanding job. From what I just seen, I've never been, as we talked just earlier, just before the podcast, I never seen a plantation. And I need to go and see yours, but that's going to be the first one. But it's a very demanding job, because everything you do is like manual labor pretty much. I don't think, is there anything automated? Maybe just water?
No,
probably?
It's the watering on some of the plants, we've got irrigation systems that we put in place. But the actual work itself, so all the tea leaves are plucked by hand. All the maintenance is all done by hand. We do a maintenance cut where we use machines, so we'll use sort of hedge cutters to kind of put a maintenance trim in once or possibly twice a year. Other than that, it's all done by hand.
Yeah. Intensive. So obviously, that comes with a cost, because you've got so many people involved. And how long does it take from which we've got here some seeds, which I've never seen before? So these are the tea seeds that you guys are planting, and it's something quite cool. You were saying that these are already produced in Jersey.
Yeah. So these are our sort of Jersey-born tea plants.
Yeah.
So originally when we planted them, the plants came from different areas, so from different genetic stock around the world. So we've had tea, some from Nepal, some from Turkey, some from Georgia. So lots of different places. And what we've done since they've kind of settled and stabilized is we've then selected the plants.
Which ones adapt better to the Jersey? Like from which country would you
say?
It's
a bit of a mixture, really. Yeah. It's a bit of a mixture, but they all have, because even those plants will have a slight different sort of genetic variation in them as well. So we then select the plants that we like, and we've kind of cross-pollinated those to produce seed from them. We've also done cuttings as well. So now we're producing tea plants that are now Jersey-born. So again, that will have a slightly different genetic background to some of the teas you can buy elsewhere now. Tea plants you can get elsewhere. So.
Is that influencing the taste? Like, I'm guessing it's like, well, I'm just kind of guessing here. You tell me if I'm wrong. You get wine. Let's say you get Sauvignon Blanc from Jersey, and you get Sauvignon Blanc from Spain. Although it's the same, in theory, is the same. Is the same drink, because it was grown on a different terroir. Is
Absolutely,
it correct?
Yeah. Terroir, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They taste differently.
Yes.
So is it the same with tea?
Very much in a similar way, yeah. So tea reflects the terroir, so it's all about the environment it's grown in, so the soil it's grown in. Again, we've got a marine climate here or an oceanic climate, which makes it slightly different to teas grown sort of centrally inland elsewhere in the world. Because our temperatures and things are slightly different as well, that's going to influence it. Light levels are going to be slightly different, so all those will kind of change the sort of chemical makeup of the plant within, which again affects the flavour of the tea. And that's one of the things that's where I started, was from the sort of geeky plant background. It's quite amazing all the mass of different types of tea and different flavours you can get from one plant, and through influencing how it grows, its environment, that can affect the flavour that you end up with.
Yeah, that's so cool. And you also do blends, which we're gonna try something I think in a minute. But how do you decide in terms of like blending? You know, what's the process? How you just kind of like, is trial and error, or is something that you kind of like follow certain?
Again, personally, I kind of like experimenting with the plants and the flavors as well. So, and because I grow other things, so obviously we do mint. So we've got a mint and green. The one we're going to try is a new one, which is mint. Beg your pardon. It's green tea and ginger. So that's kind of just in a sort of development stage. So basically, it stems from me sort of wanting to try something and see what we can do with it. Produce different flavors and different products from the same plant. So
with tea is almost like, I'm going back to wine because that's something that I know certain things about. So it's almost like wine in terms of like the way you, like with the wine, the way you store it, the way you aerate it. Sometimes you say it's an old red wine. It's in a way it's kind of similar with tea. Then the process you do it, you know, what's the temperature of the water? How long should you keep the tea leaves in? What can you tell us about that for people probably from the office that they maybe only tried tea bags, which we're not going to get into, but yeah, tell us about how would you recommend your teas to be served?
Well, it depends on the type, but yeah, all of them, there's a bit more of a sort of process involved in brewing a tea, slightly more than a tea bag, which is just, they're designed to just dunk in the tea, water for a short period. With these, so for example, the green teas, we tend to put the temperature of the water tends to be about 80 to 5 degrees. And then we recommend brewing it for about infusing it for about 2 to 3 minutes. Because they're whole leaf, the leaves will kind of unfurl and open up, so they have a slightly more delicate flavour. So you need to bring those flavours out by brewing it slightly longer. Tea bag teas are kind of all just cut to curl, so they're kind of processed in a different way to produce fine particles. That will brew quicker, and it also makes it slightly more astringent as well. So, and again, with green teas tend to be at a slightly cooler temperature. White teas are cooler as well. And then the black teas, we tend to sort of brew it around sort of 95 to 100 degrees. And the thing with the teas as well, which often people don't realise with these, with a tea bag, you tend to use it and it's gone. With these teas, you can re-infuse them. So you have your first brew, and then you can brew it. As long as you remove the leaves from the water, from the liquor, you can then re-infuse them again. So you can do that probably sort of about 3 times. As you do it, obviously brings out a slightly different sort of flavor profile. But that's the advantage with these.
How long do you keep it in? You know, like let's say, is it some sort of rule like white tea 1 minute, green tea 2 minutes, or whatever?
Yeah.
Is that something?
Yeah, so we kind of give a guide. Again, it's always personal preference. Yeah. So some people,
because if you leave it longer, I guess it'll be stronger flavour.
Stronger. So if you like a stronger brew, leave it longer in longer to infuse. If you don't like it as strong, then that's why we sort of generally say sort of 2 to 3 minutes. If it's a white tea, we say about 4 minutes, because white teas are sort of a much more delicate tea, so it needs a longer time to sort of draw some of the flavour out. So
yeah, interesting. I knew that there is some specific way of kind of like doing these and that, but never really got that deep into it. No. So should we try the tea? Like, should we go and see like how is the new flavour then?
Well, let's give this one a go. So this is just one we're just developing at the moment. So this is our green tea, and And this has obviously ginger in as well. So
is it like a dehydrated or not? How's it called?
the ginger.
Yeah.
Yes, it's dried. Yeah.
Dried. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've pre-measured this as well. So it's cheating slightly. And normally, what we would do is put the. Let me just bear with me 1 second. So kind of done it the other way around. So you need to put the water on the leaves, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense. Perfect. Already start getting color.
But so we just have to leave that.
Yeah. I mean, probably the water is slightly cooler than we need it now, but yeah. If
we'll give it a go.
Be longer, I should be fine.
But yeah, normally we put the leaves in and then pour the water on top and then let it brew. So as I say with that. But
how many blends you've got so far?
We have the main teas we produce are the black, green, white. Then we also have a toasted black, which is a post-production process tea. Then we also have the sort of blends which are mint and green tea. We've got a new one which won an award only a couple of months ago.
Oh yeah, we need to talk about awards because you got like quite a few, I think.
We won a few last year, which was great. So one of them is a new tea which we hope to launch this year, we call it Le Gris Ventre, which is the Jersey French name for grey bellies. So which was a sort of an affectionate term for people from Saint Juan. So the idea with that name was to produce what is effectively it's based on an Earl Grey tea, but we wanted it to have a local kind of cultural stamp as well. So hence the Le Gris Ventre name. So in that, for example, we've got our black tea. We also grow cornflower, so it's got cornflower petals in it. And it's got cornflower, yeah. It's like a pretty kind of meadow flower.
Okay.
So we use the petals in that, and then we've also got own-grown citrus in it. So we've got oranges, orange peel, and then we've got bergamot as well, which is the thing that kind of gives Earl Grey its sort of familiar flavour.
I just want to take a moment to tell you that if you are struggling to manage your social media for your hospitality businesses, you are not alone. At True 24 FPS, we are not just producing content for the sake of doing it. We are focusing exclusively on Jersey's hospitality industry, and we are turning your followers into loyal guests. Your attention as a hospitality business owner, manager, or head chef is leading staff, focusing on day-to-day operations, and also maybe changing menus and other things that are day-to-day challenges. But you don't have time for social media, which is still a critical part, but it just falls behind. So leave the social media and content creation side for us, because this is what we specialized in, so you can focus on what you do best. And now back to the episode.
Yeah, going back to the seeds, because that, is very interesting to me, and having the plant here, and I really appreciate you bringing all these stuff with you. How long it takes from seeds to harvesting, and what is the process? If you could go probably not quite step by step, because it might take a long time, but what can you give us in terms of like from seed to the table, basically?
It's a slow crop to establish. So from seed to cup could be sort of anything from sort of 4 to 7 years. So it kind of depends on how well the plant's established and how well they get going. So from seed here to this plant, that particular one is just over a year old. So it's probably about 14 months old. Obviously, we'd plant them out at about sort of 18 months to 2 years old. So they're still quite small. And then they'll have to stay in the field for 3 to 4 years being pruned to kind of help them form shape. And then hopefully by that point, they'd be starting to produce. So you have to kind of prune them to form what's called a plucking table. So they're kind of like hedges when you see them. So that's bringing them to a certain height and encouraging the plant to form lots of growth that kind of forms leafy growth at the points you need it.
But would these be usable now? Okay, I know you don't want to ruin it, because if you take the leaves, then obviously the plant might die because there's just a few.
If you were growing, I've had plants growing in my house and around my garden for a long time, and yes, you can make tea from them small, you kind of pinch prune them. So
Yeah.
you won't get a lot from it,
Yeah,
but it's enough to just sort of mess around. As the plant sort of fills up, so the more you pluck it, the more buds that will encourage the plant to do. So you're effectively pruning it. So where
you
so
prune the-
yeah, so if you're doing that with the plant that's growing at home, it's gonna it'll gradually sort of slowly but surely fill out. You won't get a lot of it until it's bigger. But yeah, for a bit of fun.
But in terms of consistency, is there such a thing in tea? Because for example, with going back to wine, I know I don't know why we're making this comparison, but it's the one I kind of know. So with wine, you have good years, bad years, and that can influence the taste of the wine. You can get less, you can get more. Is that the same going on with tea, or it's not that affected by weather as?
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, it's there's going to be, and that's one of the sort of characteristics or the traits of tea and wine as well. Is you're going to have years that are slightly different. I mean, we hope that it kind of follows a minor variation, so that you kind of keep consistency in flavour profile. But for example, it was interesting last year because we had a bit of snow. That was the tea plant's first experience of snow. They were planted in sort of 2016, 2017. So it was kind of interesting. Again, lots of people were sort of asking, is that going to affect it? Because in places like Japan, they regularly have snow on their plants. So, I think once certain things, you get light levels as well. So the plants will respond. So again, certain Japanese plants are shade grown to bring out different characteristics in the tea. So they cover them so they don't have access to light. So that kind of changes the sort of chemical elements within the leaves. Weather and environment has a big impact on the flavour and also the growth as well.
Yeah, but like after you harvest it, I guess it goes through a drying process. Is that what happens right after?
It depends. So basically,
depends on what you're
doing. Yeah. So basically, there's a period of processing afterwards. So for example, like a green tea. So green tea, the leaves are all plucked. So 2 leaves and a bud. I'm sure you can't see them here yet, but so the top 2 leaves and the bud. So those, once you've collected those would then go through a withering process. So basically, you allow the plants to sort of in a controlled environment. You allow the leaves to start to wither. Once they've reached a particular point, so it's based on the moisture content of the leaf and how much moisture it's lost, you'd then heat treat it. So that kind of stops it from oxidizing. So it's called in the industry, it's called a kill green stage. So you stop any oxidation which retains the green of the leaf. So we pan fry ours in sort of giant woks. Once that's done, they're then rolled. So then that's rolled to give them shape and then crush the leaves. So that will go through a process of rolling. And then once that's done, then it's carefully dried. And then eventually you'd end up with your finished tea when it's kind of got to a particular moisture content. Again, black tea, the difference with the black tea goes through the same processes. So you pluck, you wither for slightly longer. So there's an elongated period of withering. Again, you're monitoring the smell of the sort of aroma that the leaves are creating as they wither. Get that to a particular point. Then that one doesn't go through the kill green stage, but you then roll it and then you oxidize it. So it's often called fermentation, but it's not. It's oxidation. So the leaves, much like an apple,
that's when it gets dark.
That's when it gets its typical sort of brown, rusty sort of color. Like an apple, if you bite an apple and you leave it on the side, it starts to go brown. It oxidizes. The tea is put through this process, which again takes a long time. So it's controlling the moisture, the sort of humidity, and the temperature as well. So that will go through this period. Then that will, again, you're sort of getting used to the smells, the aromas. And then once that's got to the right stage, then you then dry it. And then once that's done, then it goes through a kind of control of, we taste them all. So
in terms of rolling, what I want to ask is, the one I sometimes get is gunpowder. So that's, I guess, rolled slightly differently than other teas. Does it matter if, let's say, the tea is rolled in a certain way? Is that influencing anything?
Well, it's different. Yeah, it's different things. You see, when we roll ours, it's more of they're kind of longer leaves and open. Gunpowder tea, when they're rolled tight, they're kind of formed into kind of tight pellets. But generally, they'll all kind of unfurl. So like these leaves, which we've just done, which are kind of rolled and twisted in a sort of slightly more sort of elongated fashion, they'll still unfurl. So the idea is that you'll see whole leaves or parts of whole leaves, really. So, but yeah, the rolling methods vary for different types of tea.
Yeah. How do you choose a good tea? I mean, if let's say, obviously not in a bag, I guess.
Yeah, it's different. Well, it's a different. We're looking at different tea bag teas at the moment. Obviously, the difficult thing with this doesn't suit everyone, so it doesn't suit every environment. So
makes it a bit more complicated.
So in
sell to offices, for example,
to offices or even busy cafes, it's difficult to kind of. Some places will go through this kind of process or ceremony of making a tea, but we want to kind of. I'd like to make it more accessible to people without changing or compromising the tea product. So we're kind of looking at that, but it's not the same. It would be bigger tea bags, sustainable sort of tea bags. As I say, like tea bags, as we all know them, it's a different process that tea goes through. It's called cut, tear, curl, and it kind of macerates and oxidizes the tea to create this convenience.
But how do you choose the tea? So if obviously it comes to taste, but in terms of like, how do you know a tea is a good quality tea, no matter whether it's white, black, green? Is there some sort of way of doing it apart from taste?
I think there's taste, and then I suppose as well there's an element of provenance as well. So if you know where it's come from, you know the origin of your tea, and you know the growers, then generally you'll know.
That's already a great sign.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and to be honest, as well, taste. So if you like the tea, then it's a good tea. If you don't like the tea, then it's not. And I think it's easy for much in the same way that you have tea sommeliers and wine sommeliers. So you go through a training process to kind of learn that. But at the end of the day, everyone's palate kind of is going to be different. So what I might think is an absolutely amazing tea might not be for you. Lots of people don't like green tea. One of the big things is, and for years, I never liked green tea. But the key thing, which I never realised until later on, was it was a badly brewed cup of tea. So if you get a green tea and you put scalding hot water on it and then you leave it for 6-8 minutes, it's going to be a bitter, it's going to be astringent. Whereas if you brew it properly, it's quite delicate, brings out the flavours, you can taste it a bit more. So, as I say, for years I never touched green tea because I thought I didn't like it, but in actual fact, I really love it. So, so it makes a big impact. And again, that's when you're selling to people, and then you're relying on other people to, if we sell it to a hotel or a cafe, you have to then rely on the people to present it as you want it presented, kind of thing as well.
How is your relationship with the hospitality industry here, and how is the community responding to what you're doing? Do you feel like people are open to the idea of trying new flavors, or even or they're mainly going with the classics? Do they want to pay the price for it? Because obviously it comes with the price. Just thinking that we're doing something in Jersey, no matter what you're doing, is going to come with the price. How is the situation?
I think, generally, for what we've been doing, we've sort of spent a lot of time over the last few years sort of developing the plants, developing the processing, the products and the range, and also trying to build up links with sort of wholesale and export. So the last sort of year or so, we've spent a lot more time and effort trying to sort of roll it out a bit more locally. And I think people kind of embrace the idea. I think Jersey's got this like a really lovely community kind of spirit. And generally with small business as well, I think the community try and get behind it. So I think there's a little bit of intrigue, and people don't know about us yet. So there's still people, people drive past the fields, they don't know what they are. People don't know that we grow it, and people don't know it's actually grown in Jersey. So so it's still we're still sort of building up and sort of build the brand a bit more locally. We're starting to work more with hospitality over here. We've worked with a couple of hotels. We worked with the Atlantic last year. They did a menu using the teas. We had international guests from different hotel groups all over the world came over, and we worked with Atlantic. We've got another thing coming up with I think it's with Green Hills later in the year as well. So we're kind of starting to work more with hotels and things.
Yeah, that's great. But I can see this being it being more difficult, as you said, for coffee shops, for places, that are a bit more fast paced. I think it's more of, it almost feels like certain blends or the amount of effort and probably even the price, it's more for more high end places. But let's see what comes up with the with the tea bags. Maybe that's the solution to make it a bit more available.
Like I said, it's just like I want to look at that, but without it changing the product. So
you don't want to make compromises.
So it might be never happen.
But how is? Do you have anything already going on outside of Jersey? Do you sell anything outside of Jersey?
Yeah, some of our teas have gone to different hotels around the world. So we've I think we've got it in Athens. There's some in London, Scotland. I think the Maldives as well. So it's kind
do
of
you do anything with Genuine Jersey?
Yes, we're members of Genuine Jersey.
Yeah.
And they're brilliant. Yeah. So we did the Christmas market last year, which was our first kind of customer facing kind of direct thing, but it was amazing. The biggest takeaway from that was I really enjoyed the interaction with people and other producers and other artisans, which was it was brilliant, and just lots of chat, lots of meeting, and then geeking out about tea and growing it. So
well, let's have a taste and see how it goes.
Let's hope you like it.
I'm sure I will. I mean, these are two things that I get quite often, ginger and green tea.
It's kind of slightly unconventionally brewed because we've done it a bit.
Yeah, I know.
But there we go. There we go. Give that.
I'm sure we just equally tasting. Delicate. I like it. It's exactly what you were talking about, when it comes to like the strength of the tea. And this is just really fine, I would say, you do feel the ginger, but it's not overpowering. You do feel the tea, but it's not like hitting you in the green way. It's not hitting you in the brains.
Yeah, it's a sort of a balance with the brewing. So it could, I think if we'd brewed it slightly different, it would have drawn out a bit more of the. But it's actually quite nice because it's not overpowering with the ginger. So
absolutely.
You can still taste the two, the ginger and the green. So
I mean, I can see these. You know who you need to probably try to work with? I don't know if this might be a successful collaboration, but we had on the podcast actually. Do you know the lady from Guernsey that does kombucha?
Yes, yeah. I've met, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't know whether it's something that she would have in mind, but it's they put so much care as well. I've been there, when I was in Guernsey to see how they do the process, and it's so much care. And from what you're telling me, it's exactly the same thing going on into getting the tea on the cup. So that might be an interesting, because I know they're using fermented green tea into kombucha. And I think that's how it's made, if I'm not wrong. But that might be interesting to see if there can be a collaboration at some point.
Yeah, well, we've sort of had brief conversation in the past, but I'm kind of quite keen on working with other artisans as well and producing other products that use the tea. So not just the tea as a normal drink, as a conventional drink, as everyone knows, but as a component of other things.
We talk about a few of the plans, the future plans, every here and there, but what do you have in mind if, let's say, for the next 5 years, where do you see the Jersey Fine Tea business going?
Well, I'd like to probably expand the kind of range of teas that we're producing, and sort of obviously, as every business wants to try and establish to make sure lots of people are aware of it, and also sort of realise it is quite a unique product as well. So it'd be nice to, and hopefully, working with different hotel groups as well and restaurants, be nice to kind of walk in somewhere and order, go to London or go somewhere else
and
different
order
country,
your own tea.
order tea that came from home. Yeah, I kind of like the idea.
That's so cool. Yeah, so that's the big plan, right?
I think with that, in terms of the product and in terms of the growing, got plans. So we're just setting up a new kind of nursery area, so I can kind of expand that. And I'm also I want to do like a trial garden, so with plants from different regions and have them, and then see how those plants kind of produce teas as well. So more of an experimental thing, and then increase the amount of growing space we've got.
You almost need to be a scientist, in this, to kind of like try, see what goes.
Exactly. Well, horticulture is a science, so it's it's science. So the science in the growing it, and the science involved in the production side of it as well. So that's the kind of geeky side of it I like.
For people that want to find more about you, your business, where are you more active on social? Where do we send people to get your tea? Because we've got hospitality people watching this. We've got people from all sorts of areas, and I hope they come your way with an inquiry and get this business to the next level.
That's brilliant. Well, we're on Instagram and Facebook as @Jersey Fine Tea. We're sort of trying to also, which is kind of again sort of interesting and geeky, is we're trying to follow the journey of the tea from seed through to cup. So we've kind of
because you've got to almost educate people to know like how much work goes into it and why they pay the price they pay. I think it's a.
Well, that's the thing. It's again everywhere. It's the second most consumed beverage in the world after water. Everyone drinks tea or has drunk tea, but no one knows how it ends up in your cup, and no one knows that it's this plant and how it's processed. So and again from my sort of plant background as well, as I kind of want to enlighten people as to how the journey that the plants go through, which people often overlook. Anything when you get potatoes or everyone eats potatoes, everyone eats vegetables, but they don't know where it started. And people are used to just going and buying something off the shelf. And I think it's kind of cool that people understand that journey and learn a bit more. And it's kind of I think as well people might appreciate what the finished product is a little bit more, and they might be like, actually that's kind of cool. It's gone. I saw that in the field. That's how it started, and that's from the seed. So, yeah,
that's so cool. But if people want to buy, can they get directly from the website? Where do you
website? We're just revamping, so that currently you can contact us through it. But basically, through ourselves, you can buy it. We also sell the tea at Cooper's in town.
Okay.
It's at the Harbour Gallery, Jersey Museum, Hampton. I think it's Atlantic are currently serving it as well, so people can go and try it.
I had a sommelier from Atlantic. I'm sure he was quite impressed probably with your, because he's also a sommelier for, I don't know if tea, but I know coffee and water, he said, and I'm like, water? I didn't even know it's a thing, but so he might be into tea as well. I'm sure like he was probably quite impressed if he got into the menu.
Hopefully, it's as I say, you can go there and try it. We worked with the Atlantic last year on one thing we were doing. And like I say, it'd be nice to sort of move forward and work with other, particularly locally. I think we've worked hard to kind of get the product established with hotels around the world. So it makes sense that we should be able to get it here and work with local hotel groups as well. Yeah,
makes total sense. Matt, I enjoyed this tea conversation, honestly, and the tea was amazing, so highly recommend it. And there are more going on, for different flavors. For people that don't like green tea, they can go with something else. If they don't like ginger, there are other options. So plenty to choose from. And thank you for making time for this, because this, is a full-time job, more than a full-time job, I'm sure, and it keeps you busy. So I appreciate making time for it.
No, it's been good chat to you. Thank you very much. It's great.
Thank you.